Hello and welcome to the Psychology's Life Lab course, Restore Your Balance. So welcome to week 1. So this is where we're going to be thinking about how much of what you do really reflects who you are. So I'm Lorraine Western, I'm a coach with Aspiring Mind, and I help people redesign their life and work so that it reflects their values. I'm also an occupational therapist, so thinking about activities that we engage in and identity and so on is really a core part of my work throughout my career. So it's a real pleasure to be here with you today. So being busy can almost be like a badge of honour. So if you speak to someone and say, "Oh, how are you?" so often the first thing they'll come back with, "Oh, I'm just so busy." And it would actually often feel quite uncomfortable to come back and say, "Are you? Oh, well I'm had a really great week. I just feel I'm really being myself and doing activities that really reflect who I am. So I don't really feel under that same pressure that I'm just on a constant treadmill of doing." So I don't imagine many of us have come back with that response when someone's asked us how we are. But maybe we need to reevaluate our understanding of being and doing and our values of what's important. So the first thing to think about really is, who are you when you're being the very best version of yourself? Who are you being? What sort of qualities and traits come to the fore? How would your friends describe you? What words would they use? What sort of things do you love doing? Or what did you used to love doing but you no longer have time for? So these sort of things tend to capture the essence of who we are. And if those things are being squeezed out of our life so that our activities no longer reflect who we are, then we're often not being the very best version of who we are, and we often don't feel fulfilled even though we are really busy. So for me, I would describe myself as a creative person. And when I was young, my mum used to sew. She used to sew my clothes, she used to knit, she used to crochet. And from a young age, I had a real interest in these things. And my family were the grateful recipients of a range of doilies and pot holders as Christmas presents. But I used to really enjoy making things just for the joy of doing it and for the joy of giving and for making things that I could wear. However, as life got busier, these things tended to be really squeezed out until over the last few years I've really done very few creative activities. And I really noticed that I wasn't really bringing creativity into my work, into my business, and yet I knew that's a core part of who I am. So I made a decision to try and make a real intentional effort to rediscover that creative part of my personality that had been rather squeezed out. My initial attempts to find time to do some sewing were fruitless. You know what it's like when you're busy and you think, well, I tell you what, on Friday evening I'm just going to take time to do such and such. Friday evening comes, you're too tired, or other activities take precedence. So I booked some sessions at a local shop where you could just take your own project along and sew with support of someone there. And that was what I needed to kickstart and reignite my engagement with being creative. So I've made a couple of things to wear, made a shirt for my son, which I never thought I would be able to do. And I've also started some crochet as well. So I often commute into London and I take my crochet with me on my commute. I do get some funny looks, but it's been a really good way of, when I'm busy, actually intentionally including some creative activity, because that's who I am. And I've really noticed how that's benefited not only my time when I'm doing those activities, and I'm actually happy at doing something I really enjoy, but also that spills over into work and into my business and into my family life. So my question to you is, what is it that makes you really you? It might be that you're a sporty person and you used to play team sports, or you used to regularly run, whatever it might be. But as life has got busy, that's been pushed to one side. be that you really thrive from communicating with your friends or your family and spending quality time talking, maybe over a coffee or a meal. Whatever it is, just have a think how you can start to include some of those activities that really express who you are. And I'm sure you'll find it doesn't just refresh that time that you're spending doing them, but it also spills over into the rest of life. And your doing becomes more of your being. And if you find that there are activities you're doing regularly that you are internally rebelling against, it might be that there are some things that in the long term you need to think about changing because you're doing things that really are out of sync with who you are. And that's where working with a coach can be really helpful. But we're also going to be thinking over the next few weeks about how you can start to make changes to really restore the balance of your life. So I'm really grateful for you to spending this time with me because I know you're busy, so I appreciate your time, and I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you next week. Between now and then, do have a look at the workbook and see if you can engage with some of those questions that will help you start to make some steps on this journey. So thank you and bye for now.